G'day, battlers. Today we're going to be talking to Tangent Nesabethan. Man, that shouldn't be a hard name to say, but it apparently is. So, yeah, we're going to be talking about the Prismatic Cup meta, kind of diving into that. One thing I should probably say that I didn't say before, if you want to skip to like a certain section, I should have all of the like timestamps in the progress bar below. Like if you want to skip to a certain section, if you want to skip to us talking about why Soko Cut Hypno is so sick, that's going to be at a particular point. So, yeah, you can kind of skip to that. And yeah, so first off, Tangent Nesabethan, like I know we've been doing this for a few months now, but once again, it is very important that you do introduce yourselves. Tell the world who you are and where to find you. Etc. We've only got a cast of 2. So, I mean, you can just like paper, scissors, rock to find out who wants to go first, or...
It sounds like a proper PvP match I'm in.
Exactly right.
Very fitting in this meta.
There's a big 10's ready.
1, 2, 3. Oh, we're doing zeros. Okay.
Okay.
What are we counting to? We're doing it 3, 2, 1, 0.
Okay, 3, 2,
Do
1.
it on 0.
Right. 3, 2, do it on 0. Okay. Right. 3, 2, 1, 0.
Oh, wrong. Okay. I'll go first. All right. Name is Tangent. I'm a player, Silph player, legend Go Battle Leech player. I'm part of the Do Stadium meta analyst team. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, Tangent444, and you can find me lurking around the Discords all over the place. I'm in too many servers.
Aren't we all?
Yeah.
All right, the loser of the official championship paper, scissors, rock tournament, Nesabethan. Free to go.
Yeah, I'm similar. I'm also a Go Stadium meta analyst. I'm a UK player. I guess in Silph, I think last couple of seasons I've been one of the highest rated UK players. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I contribute some of the graphics, but not this one. I didn't make this one. I mean, I helped out a little bit, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was me, guys. I was the guy behind the scenes that did it all. You can thank me later. But yeah. I guess before we kind of jump into the graphic stuff, do you just want to kind of give me a one sentence summary of what you feel like the Prismatic Cup is? Like, are we looking at a Hypno meta? Are we looking at the same first 3 and then a 3 differing backline? What are we kind of looking at in the Prismatic Cup?
I feel like Prismatic Cup it's sort of centralized in a couple of core figures. I think some of the later slots tends to be kind of open, and that's where you get a bit of your diversity. But it's also a meta that's kind of, there's a lot of hard counters. So like you're going to be kind of ready at different points. Like, there's just nothing you can do if you don't have the right team composition, if you just pick the wrong line.
Yeah, for sure. I've certainly got my Talonflame stuck up against the Quagsire a little bit too much. Always in the lead. I don't know how it keeps happening, but
that's not too bad. Twitestar
have landed some brave birds.
Yeah. Lanturn is not playable. Twitestar you can play.
Because Lanturn resists Brave Bird, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's total ouchie. But I guess I can screen share the thingamajiggy. Boom, boom, and boom. Share screen. So we're on stadiumgaming.gg now. Looks like we've got oh no, that doesn't show up. Okay, I had the Zoom thingy showing up, but now it is all good. Okay, so on the website here, we've got all sorts of Go Stadium-y goodness here that they're doing like VCG now and all sorts of other Unite Stadium. I don't see Unite Stadium being listed like up the top here. It's just VGC Stadium. I don't know why they're getting such high regard here. Pokemon Go is clearly the superior game, but it is down here. And yeah, all of the articles that they're putting out are going to pop up down here. So there was a Prismatic Cup usage that it's pretty much what you'd expect. There's a lot of the big meta picks, but what we're going to be looking at today is the meta snapshot. And you can also go to the articles and more and kind of see it all up there, going to all news and articles. But going in now, and here we are, penned by Tangent with a fancy little feather there. So I guess we can just open it up like this. I can do the expandy do. And that's just covering it a little bit. Okay. So a whole lot of arrows, a whole lot of boxes, a whole lot of colors. I am noticing that this time the colored boxes do appear to be. Oh no, never mind. I was going to say do appear to be color coded, but they are not.
No.
Which I think was the first criticism that my graph was given like a few weeks ago. I was like, sad like colored boxes, and they were like,
yeah.
There's only 3 colors on here, Steve. There's 6 colors in this meta. I was like, they're not the colors. They're not the colors.
Yeah. I actually thought about that going into the month as well. We can probably put a color with each one, and then I just kind of forgot about that when we actually going to make it. Like, because each one should have probably had the color symbol beside them, but I didn't really think about it until later.
Yeah, but you can mostly figure it out. Mostly. Yeah. There's some, like, iffy ones, like, Shifter is like, it is brown, but you could kind of make an argument for being green. Alolan Muck is a total, who knows where Alolan Muck's going to land. It's just about knowing the green and black slot's kind of where it fits. Most of it's kind of in color spot, though. Most of it. But, Tangent, if you do want to kind of give us a quick little rundown about what we're looking at, what you can see here, I guess.
Yeah, you can kind of see, like, there's 2 Pokemon that are kind of dominating the usage, and that's Talonflame and Hypno. You can see Hypno is actually the only yellow Pokemon that's actually on the main drafted section, just as it's so dominant.
Alolan Raichu's up the top left.
It's not yellow.
Really?
Alolan Raichu's in the brown and.
What? Man, I forgot that orange didn't exist in the main series, so they've made them all either brown or red or some other completely different color. Well, there you go. You may continue.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so basically you're looking at Hypno and Talonflame, and then you'll see that the top left, that's like your sort of core Talonflame counters. Like, there's a lot of other ones you can use in the alternatives as well, but like the most common one you see is Lanturn and Quagsire, and then occasionally Alolan Raichu as well shows up.
Does it?
Sometimes. I've seen it too. It's pretty potent. Like, there's one matchup I played against someone where if it wasn't for Flydon being on my team, like I would have like just been rolled over by a Raichu.
Apparently, I'm doing like the wrong tournaments because I've not seen one Raichu yet. It's all been.
It's got. I think it's like top 10 or top 15 usage. It's one of the like Hypno Talonflame core breakers, although it's not completely reliable at it, but it has decent matchups against both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, there you go.
You'll see below Hypno is all like sort of the core Hypno counters. They aren't really used a huge amount. I haven't seen like a lot of teams employing Snorlax, Munchlax, and Alolan Muck, but they're pretty present in the meta, and they're definitely some of the more common ways you can address Hypno. And then you have like the Drasses, and the Drasses show up pretty commonly to challenge these big waters like Lanturn. It's just such a strong hard counter to Lanturn. Very few things other than Drasses hard counter it. And so then you have those 3, and then Talonflame, of course, is sort of beating all those Drass types. And then you kind of have the fighters as an additional way of addressing Shiftry and Ferrothorn, along with being sort of the strongest response to the Hypno counters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which I've certainly got my Snorlax locked up against some Hitmontops in my time. Just been not the best, but I guess the saving grace is neither of those fighters are going to get to those charge moves too fast. I guess Blaziken's a little bit fast-ish to Blaze Kick, which is definitely kind of clutch speeding me in. I know one game, like they barely got to the Blaze Kick and it just like took out the sliver of health that I had before the charge move got off. But as you said, there's kind of a lot of key players that are on most of teams here. I'm actually not sure. I played a full tournament yesterday, and I think every team that I faced had Talonflame on it. Potentially every team had Hypno on it as well. Actually, no, one had Frostlass. I lied. But the Talonflame Hypno just core is really strong in this meta. It is absolutely everywhere. Plus, like, Hypno is one of those mons that can run a variety of movesets. But that's kind of one thing we actually talk about straight away. Hypno moveset. Because it's kind of something that I feel like usually has more variety than it does this month. This month, I've kind of been seeing the same moveset over and over and over.
I'm interested. What's the moveset you've been seeing?
So I've been seeing Thunder Punch, Shadow Ball, always. And I was kind of thinking that Ice Punch has some play as well.
I run Ice Punch.
Yeah. Are they the only 2 options? Ice Punch or Thunder Punch? And then Shadow Ball? Because you don't want to get stuck in a Hypno mirror?
if you're really nervous about Ferrothorn, you could try with Fire Punch, but I feel like the two main ones you're seeing is Ice Punch and Thunder Punch. So like Thunder Punch was sort of clear choice in a way because of Talonflame. I think that's the reason it was popular. Is everyone's like, oh, everyone's running Talonflame, so I'm going to run Thunder Punch. But the kind of the issue with that, especially if you're also running Lanturn as a Talonflame talent, which a lot of people are running Lanturn and they're also running Hypno, is you kind of double up on this electric coverage, and then a lot of these anti-meta pits are starting to become ground types. You'd have Listor and you have Flydon, and Ice Punch Hypno covers those really well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess I'm personally in the like Quagsire camp, so I'm not doubling up on the Thunder coverage at least. But Quagsire is good. Nesabethan, are you running Hypno on yours?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
I know.
You're asking which punch I'm going with.
Is it top secret?
That's what it probably should be. Yeah, it probably should be.
He confirmed he's running Focus Blast, Shadow Ball.
Yeah, double nuke. I've got Psyshock on mine.
The very fancy moveset. I know. I saw so I was co-casting the Kanto Cup held by Antimatter Gaming the other day, and I saw Valarash running Psyshock on his Shadow Hypno, and it's like, what is going on here? What's he doing? And then he like actually did really well with it. It's like Psyshock was working for him. It's like, this makes some sense. It's a pretty interesting move, and it's definitely not an expected one. Like I think most people are pretty happy to go, this isn't going to be a psychic move. You've already got the big damage from Confusion. Why run Psyshock sort of deal? But there's definitely play for it always. You can definitely be a nice little nuke.
Shadow Ball already gives you pretty good DPE in neutral matchups because Psyshock's, although it gets stabbed, it's a lower DPE move, so it's not like it's really helping you in neutral in the way that it might on some other psychic Pokemon.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think as well for Ice Punch, I've actually almost exclusively been facing Ice Punch Hypnos. It seems like I'm using Ice Punch and everyone else is using Ice Punch against me, and it's because there's also like Whimsicott and Shiftry to think about as well, and both of those are the type of. I've definitely run into a few Thunder Punch Hypnos as well, though, and
I've seen a few Thunder Punch. Yeah.
And my Glistor liked it. It was really nice. Like it was really, really friendly for the Glistor.
Yeah. My experience is fairly limited, especially to like, those early meta cups that you have to like lock in your team straight away. And then you're playing it for the full month on this like first build of your team, which is always an interesting time. It's like, can I please change, please?
I started with the Thunder Punch when I was doing like practices, like just sort of scrim matches before the actual cup was live. And like, I realized pretty fast when I was doing that, I was just leaving sort of this big gaping hole to all these ground types that were just completely were just becoming huge threats because I was also bid on running Lanturn at that point still.
Yeah, so you do have that double Thunder dealio.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing in the box is Drifblm. Is there any reason to run Drifblm instead of Hypno? I guess the color thing is the dealio. Like if you have another yellow or white Pokemon that you really want to run,
I think
Drifblm.
The thing about Drifblm is it's not necessarily a Hypno replacement as much as it's almost like having a second Pokemon to cover the same things. So like if you really need coverage for the fighting types, and it also has decent grass coverage. The only problem is Shiftry, of course, for that grass coverage, and it's not even necessarily a sure thing to beat Whimsicott, which is also kind of interesting for a flying type Pokemon that's throwing ice at its opponents. But it's sort of a generalist. I don't think it's really a Hypno in a way. It's sort of more of it has similar coverage as the Hypno. This is why it's shown in the same spot. Like it beats the fighters, it loses to the same things. So it used to be in a separate spot, but it ended up making the graphic kind of complicated. I remember Nesabethan saying he actually kind of liked it more when Drifblm was in sort of his own spot. It's just sort of like it was just adding so many arrows.
Yeah, that's always the worry when building one of these graphs. Like, yes, I would like to have it would be ideal to have every single Pokemon in its own box, like elsewhere, and all having its own arrows towards what it beats and what it doesn't. But at that point, it's just a little bit too complicated. It's a little bit too hard to digest, and having this sort of snapshot, being able to kind of condense it down into a more understandable, buildable form is definitely a nice little thing to have. But again, I'm kind of seeing 6 main boxes. and obviously you have 6 Pokemon on your team, but with Drifblm not being a Hypno swap in, I guess I think Tangent, you were saying before that you might drop out the bottom left box. Oh, I guess fighters aren't that huge.
Fighters in the bottom left box aren't that huge. They just kind of complete the draft pick in terms of coverages. So like, it's sort of important to show that one of the things that Whimsicott gives you is it gives you coverage for those fighters if they're bringing the fighters in, and also coverage for Shiftry. It's kind of important to see that, it's not that there's nothing that beats the Snorlaxes. And like, if we didn't have Snorlax and Alolan Muck, we'd have nothing shown as beating Hypno outside of Shiftry. So it's like, they're pretty present, but like the bottom boxes are definitely the least present of the group.
And on the fighters in particular, Snorlax has become quite a common safe swap in the cup on certain teams, and it's a team that does actually have a fighter can control it a bit more easily, especially with Hitmontop, which is bulkier.
Yeah, I mean, I know I pretty much use Snorlax as like it kind of did act as that sort of safe swap role, because it's pretty decent up against most teams, especially because there's no fighters around. You can see my tournament recap in the video link up there that I'll forget to put. But it's a very interesting Pokemon, because I feel like Lick is sort of seen as a fast charging energy move, but it's not that fast.
No, it's just body slam. It's so cheap.
Yeah,
so the combination of body slam is really cheap, and it's a short duration move, so it kind of feels that it's going faster than it really is.
Snorlax is interesting because it's got really good bulk, it's got really good charge moves, and it's only got one weakness as well, so its typing's pretty decent. But its fast move is sort of below average, so that sort of reins it in a little bit, stops it from being a dominant Pokemon.
Yeah, and would you prefer Snorlax or Munchlax? Because I haven't seen too many Munchlaxes. They've been around, but I feel like Snorlax has been gone for a little bit more. Maybe it's because like Superpower is more of an attainable move.
I think the coverage of Superpower is quite nice against its counters, and it's much more powerful than Bulldoze as well in terms of DPE. So I think Snorlax is operating as a safe Pokemon a bit better than Munchlax is, even though it's got lower stat product and it's slightly worse in neutral when it's just relying on body slam. I think it has a bit more safety.
Yeah, the ability to just hit Shiftry and Ferrothorn, both of which are pretty popular for those superpowers, is pretty huge. Yeah, they have to respect it a lot more. Like, they have to be a bit more concerned.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And then there's also a Alolan Muck in there. All right, pick one dude in this box. Who are you going for? Alolan Muck is the other option. That's kind of like, it's a sort of different Pokemon, I guess. It's charging up its energy a lot faster. It's kind of another sort of neutral dude. Doesn't care as much about fighting, but maybe cares a little bit more about the ground stuff, which Quagsire is definitely around a lot.
Yeah, I think the thing about Alolan Muck is it has one really good job, and that's taking out Hypno. If you can land on the Hypno, that's huge, along with Drifblm as well. But the main thing you're bringing it for is the Hypno coverage. And outside of that, it's just kind of so-so. It kind of just holds up well. And if you're facing the Lanturn, you're facing the Talonflame, you're probably going to lose the matchup, but you're probably going to do some decent damage before going down at least.
Yeah, maybe get a shield on the way.
It's also as a dark type.
No, go on. Sorry, go.
I was going to say, as a dark type as well, it also has tools to fight back against Whimsicott if it can land the Sludge Wave.
Yeah, which is.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it wins the 0 shield over Lanturn, whereas Snorlax doesn't.
Yeah.
Because I think Snorlax is slightly weaker in neutral matchups because of its fast move, but
yeah. So the more charge moves you can get off, the faster the video you're going to end up doing in sort of neutral situations.
Yeah, I'm seeing Snorlax lose all even shields against Lanturn. I'm not sure if Lanturn needs to bait, whereas Muck can pick up some scenarios. Just because that Snarl, although Snorlax has slightly better charge moves and a bit more bulk, having Snarl is really, really nice compared with having Lick.
I mean, who knew Snarl was a good move? Energy generation is always nice to see, but so I guess we've looked at the sort of the Hypno Drifblm pair, kind of looked at the bottom left box. The grass types is an interesting one because not everyone has to bring one, but lots of people do.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that?
I almost think you have to. The thing about grass is you can substitute a ground type for it, but really the big thing about grass is the Lanturn coverage, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have something that beats Lanturn very hard, then especially if you're running Talonflame, like you're gonna run into problems.
Yeah, I guess because the only other thing, I guess Quagsire has been my sort of main Lanturn counter. Fairthorn is on my team, but I have literally never used it. Like I have not touched that thing. I think it's just there as a threat more than anything. Whereas Quagsire is more of the man on the ground to actually take Lanturn down.
Mm-hmm.
But even on other people's teams, I haven't seen grass types being used too much. Maybe that's because I've Noctowl on my team, so that could be a reason to see less of them. Having Noctowl and Talonflame might be discouraging them, so I might have a bit of a skewed opinion on that one, potentially.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like team composition. Because Noctowl's a bigger player than I probably gave it credit for going into the cup. Yeah,
I mean, I've only kind of figured it out in the last few days that Noctowl can do a very good job.
Mm-hmm.
It's very handy. I literally only used it once in that tournament win, I think, but it did okay. Actually, it takes way more damage from a foul play from Shiftry than I thought it would.
I mean,
I think it did about like half health, which is a little scary. I thought Noctowl would have a much sort of safer time. It's a bulky Pokemon. It's a bird versus grass thing, but
I've learned that over my time in Go Battle League with running Shiftry is like, and to draw out like flying types, like you can do pretty well with foul plays.
Yeah. Yep, very scary stuff. But Whimsicott is an interesting one because it originally wasn't too high on the PV Poke rankings, but then like rocketed up to number 1.
Yeah,
and lots of people kind of asking why. So I will now ask you why. Why Whimsicott?
Due to usage data, I think when some of the usage data was put into the actual thing, it sort of noted that there's a lot of people that, for example, were picking Blaziken instead of Talonflame in their red slot, and like Whimsicott is very dangerous for someone who's taking that approach. Like, it's because Shiftry is such anti-meta because Hypno and Lanturn are dominating usage, and Shiftry is just so it's just like it's the Drass that also beats Shiftry, which is pretty big. Mm-hmm. On the flip side, though, it's also the Drass that is just like if you're stocked, you're stocked. Like if you're up against a Talonflame, you're just gonna get taken down unless you can get to like a Hurricane fast enough.
Which happens. It definitely happens. But
if Talonflame tries to take you only down with Incinerates, I think you can just get to that Hurricane.
So maybe just hope that you don't start in that matchup.
Yeah.
Or that they get really cocky and really try and go for it hard.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen someone do that. So I think they get up to like 4 and then I'm just a flame charge at this point.
Yeah, well, you even just like hit a flame charge and don't do any bubbles so you can get the attack boost so you can keep on going.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a bit of a rough spot, I guess, if you are the Whimsicott. I guess it's sort of something that has been seen a little bit in the last few cups that even though there are ways to kind of get around the RPS, you can definitely build a team that is very prone to RPS. So I think my Vortex Cup team was like really prone to RPS. Like it just happened and it was kind of built that way. And I guess Whimsicott is one of those Pokemon that increases your RPS, your experience in the cup of RPS, which is kind of give or take. You can try and avoid that if you'd like.
Yeah.
Or that's how you can build your team, which I, again, have built many at RPS team. But that's kind of how it goes when you're thinking only about, I need to cover everything. Okay, Bastiodon covers this. Here goes this.
I find that the people who are like, and I do it sometimes as well, like when you try to make a team on the PV Poacher team builder that has a really low threat score, the teams with the really low threat score tend to be the most RPS.
Yeah. I have definitely found that out the hard way, unfortunately. There are like, even decent teams tend to have okay team builder scores, but they're not what you're going to end up with if you're just like sitting there trying to optimize it for days on end, trying to get the, that golden 480 threat score sort of deal, which I've never been cool enough to be able to build one under 500, but that doesn't matter because Tangent just told me I didn't need to. So
it's a cool game. Like, it's fun to try to, and I think you can build some interesting teams. Like if you can have a low threat store, like especially if you're not sure sort of how good your team will, like if you're not sure about like how, like I'm trying to think of the right way of saying it. It's like if you're not sure like how you're going to do that month, if you can find a team with a low threat store at a minimum, your team is going to be solid. Like you're not going to find out, oh crap, I did not cover this major threat.
Yeah, exactly. If you have a threat score of 520, you're going to be covering everything. It's just going to be about potentially putting things in the right spot is what we're going to be left with, which is still I think it's right that it's a pretty decent spot to be in if you're kind of lost otherwise. Yeah. Definitely puts you in the right spot. A water type anti-hypno counter group thingy. The Quag, Lanturn, and Alolan Raichu, who is not a yellow Pokemon, despite my hardest arguments. Lanturn and Quagsire are obviously the big two. You mentioned that Raichu is around. I'm gonna. You said it was like top 15 in usage. It's kind of, I guess it has Grass Knot, which is kind of nice. I guess, but
there's a reason that Quagsire is not shown beating Alolan Raichu.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I almost got hit by a Grass Knot on my Quagsire, but we did run away. So I guess I did see an Alolan Raichu. Apparently I lied. I'm apparently exposed. So is there a reason? So I feel like there's differences between Lanturn and the other two, obviously. The Quagsire is going to get the coverage for the Lanturn. It's going to be winning that matchup, whereas Lanturn's going to have a bit of a better time up against the sort of like Drifblms, etc. Quagsire is a little bit rough because it doesn't get to it's very charge move dependent. I guess Lanturn kind of is as well.
Yeah.
Lanturn gets to its charge move slower.
I suppose if Lanturn has Water Gun, it can do a bit more fast move damage than Spark's more similar to Mudshot than Water Gun is.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I've actually almost exclusively seen Spark Lanterns, which is interesting. I thought Water Gun might be popular in a sense because it does make the Quagsire matchup a lot nicer.
Yeah, I mean, I guess both ways you're beating Talonflame, and that's like the main reason it exists. Right. And I mean, again, like that situation before, I got Sparked down. I guess I would have got Water Gun down as well. Water Gun's another pretty fast move. Quagsire is one that I have not seen a single person up against me use anything other than the Stone Edge Earthquake combo. Where is the Sludge Bomb? Where is the Acid Spray?
Sludge Bomb is interesting, because you could actually flip the tables and win the top, which would be really, really interesting.
Yeah, you can hit, and you can hit Shift pretty harder as well.
Yeah.
Just any grass, or sort of Tangrowth, your Stone Edge is maybe only doing about 60%, whereas your Sludge Bomb could potentially knock it out.
Yeah. So I feel like that's an option on Quagsire's bomb edge. Definitely not Acid Spray. That just sounds like a bad idea.
Maybe in this meta it is. Especially if we're prone to being hit by a surprise 30-second switch timer that can clear all Acid Spray debuffs at a drop of an announcement from Niantic. I wonder if, I guess Sludge Bomb's definitely got some play as a surprise move, which is always a nice thing to have in these cups, like having that sort of surprise that you can generally only use once. Catch them off guard.
To be honest, if I'm looking at it, I probably would run. Like I'm currently running up Quagsire, but it wasn't like the most important tournament that I was doing, and I don't really feel like TMing my old Quagsire. But looking at it, Ferrothorn's the biggest argument for Earthquake.
I mean, I really liked it for Lanturn.
Also ground types. You can't hit ground types with Bomb and Stone Edge.
That's true, yeah. Flygon becomes a lot tougher. So, it's sort of a mirror. And it's like, against a Shift Tree, you can completely annihilate it with a Sludge Bomb, but a Stone Edge is going to also hurt a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it can really take many Stone. I think if you hit it with one Stone Edge, that would be most of what you need to do.
They're shielding the next one if you get to one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm personally of the opinion that Stone Edge Earthquake is the better way to go. I feel like Earthquake does give you that extra sort of coverage that fills the role that Quagsire is made to fill. In saying that, like, you can obviously build it in a different way. You can build that coverage out from other Pokemon. If you're, really weak to grass, then maybe that Sludge Bomb's going to be an important thing to throw on as a kind of bonus round.
That rock ground coverage is amazing. That's often why people turn to Stone Edge and Earthquake, because it's just such a good coverage combination. You have like 3 Pokemon that resist both. I think Chestnut's the only one you really see, and you don't even see that often in this meta, so it is very nice coverage.
Yeah.
And it's generally running Smackdown as well, which doesn't get to its charge moves as fast, which is nice. It's just not like a super threat to Quagsire, I guess, as opposed to the sort of spammier version. But
I mean, if you were running into a lot of Chestnuts, being able to Sludge Bomb it would be pretty nice.
Again, you're only going to have that happen once. Then they're never playing it the same way again. But it can be nice. I keep talking about it because I loved it back in like regional season 2 when I used that Focus Blast Hypno. Favorite thing of all time. Like, I just the vivid memory of winning that entire round just based on Focus Blast, like landing it as a surprise move. Surprise moves can be huge. They can flip things hard, and they can cause your opponent to rip hair out of their head. But I think we've kind of covered most of the kind of main picks on the graphic, on the center graphic. Obviously, there's a bunch of alternatives on the right-hand side, some of which have kept popping up in discussion that are very good. So we've got, we've got the blue picks, Kingdra, Jumpluff, Rainy Castle, Tangrowth, and Empoleon. Kingdra, I feel like Kingdra was highly rated at the start, potentially.
We thought Kingdra was going to be huge because it was like, okay, well, everyone's running Talonflame, so here's something that double resists all of the fire moves the Talonflame can be throwing at you. And it also looked really good because there's something else that it covered at the same time. I was trying to remember what that other thing was. I think it was mainly just it's because it seemed like water types were going to be huge for covering Talonflame. So it's going to shut down Rainy Task Form and Empoleon right out of the meta. So it seemed like it was so huge for that because it seemed like those would be popular for countering Talonflame. The thing that worked against Kingdra is the thing that became popular for countering Talonflame was Lanturn. And then that's not like the greatest for Kingdra. Like, it's like it really wanted like Rainy Task Form where it's double resisting all of its moves. Be like, hey, everyone's using Rainy Task Form. Kingdra is huge now because it's a Task Form counter.
Yeah,
I think people often turn to Kingdra as well because it's fairly safe because it's only got the one weakness, well, 2 weaknesses, but one's like a mirror match. So it could have had that appeal as well as like a sort of soft Talonflame counter that has high safety, but Whimsicott became maybe surprisingly common, so that sort of ruins Kingdra a little bit if you run into a Whimsicott team.
Yeah, Whimsicott became pretty popular.
Yeah, I mean the PV poke bump definitely helped more people kind of look at it. Like, I know people in my community that like hadn't even considered it until the day that it rocketed up to number 1, and they went, "Oh, let's look at Whimsicott." Okay, so it's one of those, I guess, popularity boosts that managed to pick up just by the hands of Kakuna. I wonder if he could twist a meta that way by just bumping some random one up to number 1, and suddenly everyone's going to be using their Charmander in whatever cup. I hope that he may do it once upon an April Fool's.
This was the month. This was the maybe Whimsicott was the April Fool's. Maybe it's actually terrible. But
it worked.
He never told us.
He was just running like an all Whimsicott counter team, and he went, "I know what I'm going to do." Classic. He's an evil man. We all know how evil PV Poke is. Always doing things just to be mean. I love you, PV Poke. If you had to put one of these blue Pokemon onto the main graphic, do any of them deserve it? Like,
is there
probably Cast Form? I think is because of its similarities to Lanturn, it's maybe the most popular out of that group. I could be wrong on the usage,
I kind of view all 5 of them similar. They're kind of all there. They're all options. They're kind of team comp, but I mean, I'm just seeing Lanturn Quagsire. Lanturn Quagsire.
Yeah.
That's really what I'm seeing every time.
I mean, the blue spot's one of those ones that are very, very core meta, hard to move away from, along with the red slot and the yellow white.
Yeah.
But I guess going through that red slot, actually at the start of the month, Crustle seemed like it was going to be huge because like it had that smackdown. It was going to be taking down these Talonflames, easy peasy.
Yeah.
And then it kind of just didn't really happen because everyone realized that Talonflame was good.
I've built a lot of Crustle-based teams this month. Crustle's fun. But I run Fury Cutter Crustle. This is it's an interesting flip on Ferrothorn, which I thought was kind of cool because like people will brain Ferrothorn into being like, okay, I'm gonna use Ferrothorn to cover this Crustle. It's like because at first in the month it seems like okay, you have Shiftry, who's very common. You have Hypno, who's very common. You have it's decent against Lanturn. You have Talonflame that's really common. The thing that people are going to try to shut down your rock type with is Ferrothorn. People are going to patch a Ferrothorn on their team as their way of dealing with rock types and call it at that. And sort of with that, it's interesting. I've been able to flip that matchup on people, and people have been really surprised by that.
The old bait and switch.
Yeah. Well,
it
was a Talonflame bait team because they had Whimsicott, Shiftry, and Escavalier on the team. So I had three Pokemon. They're just like, go ahead, bring your Talonflame.
And you still went with the X's of Crustle.
Yeah, well, I went Lanturn, X's, or Crustle. So I had 2 counters to Talonflame, and then Hypno as well, which is sort of decent against it. So
makes sense.
It was a fun team.
Does sound like it's still it's not the most meta Pokemon, obviously.
I think it's good. I think it's good, but the main problem with it is it's the same slot as Talonflame, and Talonflame is just a really, really powerful Pokemon. Even if Crustle has some sort of anti-meta value in certain matchups, Talonflame's just got fantastic moves. So if you can keep it away from a Lanturn, it can do those momentum sweeps and blowholes and things with boosted Brave Birds and stuff. Exactly. I think that's the main thing keeping Crustle down. Not that Crustle itself is bad, just that it's in the same slot as a really good Pokemon.
Exactly. The other thing that's interesting is I've seen Sunny Taskform did a lot of play. That's an interesting one because you're kind of covering the same job as Talonflame, but it's not as good. Well, it depends because it's much better against Lanturn.
Okay. I mean, I guess you do get the chance to, beam people, which is always a positive.
Yeah, the key thing is Lanturns are spark Lanturns, which is, it means they're you're relying on the Hydro Pump, so that if you can get a little bit of energy on your task form, you can actually potentially either land the Solar Beam or you can bait the Weather Ball to then later land the Solar Beam. And if Lanturn is slow enough because it's relying on Hydro Pump to do the water type damage, you can beam it. It's very beamable.
I'm just seeing that on my end for the stream's kind of flashing a bit. I don't know if people are seeing that on theirs as well. They kind of let me know maybe if it is or not. No one's saying anything, so maybe it's just my screen being weird, potentially. But anyway, I have seen one Charizard appear, which just kind of feels like Talonflame Light to me. I'm not.
Yeah.
I think the advantage of Charizard would be if you're running Dragon Breath. Yeah. That would be the goal. I think you'd want to run Dragon Breath. It's almost like a Talonflame counter because it resists Incinerate, and you're going to be giving Dragon Breath plus Dragon Claw to it. It's actually neutral against Lanturn. Obviously, you're still not going to really win that because you're still taking Spark or Water Gun damage. But that's probably why you would run Charizard.
I reckon even with Dragon Breath, it probably loses the 0 against Talonflame because it's not going to be able to tank a Brave Bird. Yeah, it does. It loses the 0. Yeah.
Oh, it most certainly is. Yes. I think even Kingdra probably does, right?
I think Kingdra. I did say it a while ago. I think it wins, but Talonflame can flip one of the scenarios, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. I have a feeling in the one shield scenario, Talonflame could flip it if it lands a Brave Bird and it had a bit of energy. Oh no! Wow, it can just flip it straight up. It doesn't even need energy.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. That's quite sketchy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the reason why Kingdra wasn't as popular. It's just because the fact that it's like that's why Lanturn became so popular. Just the fact that you don't have to worry. Like I've had like I've had like a Talonflame like get its flame charge off when something didn't boost, and then you just send in Lanturn and win. It's just like whatever.
Fine.
I had like a Lanturn face off against the Talonflame with like a 0-1 shield disadvantage and still able just like to come out even though like it has no shield and protect itself once. So it's like there's a reason why Lanturn is so popular. It's because of how popular Talonflame is.
Yep, it's done it to itself.
Yeah.
And Quagsire just can't stand up to that hype. Mm-hmm. Electrode's also on the graphic.
So,
sorry, you were going to say?
No, go on. Oh, I was just going to say, if you don't resist Brave Bird, you're not really a hard Talonflame counter.
Yeah,
because it's such a powerful move that.
Mm-hmm. Give it Electrode. Obviously, there aren't very many options in that slot, so it's kind of like you can get what you can get. And Electrode is another sort of different flavor. It's got that electric type, so it's like another Lanturnish sort of role in the red slot.
Yeah, Electrode's interesting. Here's the thing about Electrode. It's super underrated in this meta because if you actually like put it into the PV Poacher team builder, you look like you lose to everything. It's really interesting. Like I've built the team around Electrode, and it's just like my threat score is so high because Electrode is not contributing like a win to almost everything on the draft page. It's crazy. Like there's like nothing that Electrode is helping me beat. But if you actually look at the meta, it's not in a bad spot because it's got really solid coverage for Hypno, Talonflame, Lanturn. Yep.
Actually, how is its matchup up against Hypno? Like
not bad. I mean, it's you're able to Volt Switch plus Foul Play, which is gonna put some
Foul Play. Right? Yeah. Yeah, that does make sense.
About the Hyper Beam, yeah.
I was dreaming of Hyper Beam.
Yeah. But no, it has some interesting anti-meta coverage, and even like against the grass types, like it can still go down with the fight. Surprisingly, but still, it just never really. It's in a competitive slot is it's probably its biggest problem, and the fact that it always looks like it doesn't beat anything. Like it loses to everything pretty much in the core meta, but almost everything that it loses to is like executing a proper bait to beat it. So like Lanturn beats it because it baits the Thunderbolt and lands a Hydro Pump. In reality, that's not a comfortable matchup for Lanturn.
Yeah, no, it's not what you want to be necessarily. No. Yeah, just making Lanturns uncomfortable is always a nice spot to be in. So if you can do that, it would be nice.
Definitely make that Talonflame uncomfortable as well.
Yeah. Also, very, very, very important. If you can encourage people to even just not bring Talonflame, that would be nice. I guess you've gone the opposite route with your Talonflame baiting out team.
Yeah.
Very reverse, but. Mm-hmm. Then there's the slot that is just the Hypno slot, the second most locked down slot after Talonflame. You've got Frostlass, Ninetales, Pelipper, Dugong. Frostlass is such a good Pokemon. I started off when they first announced it. I was like, Frostlass is in the slot. It's going to be another Frostlass meta, and then it turned out to be nothing like a Frostlass meta. Frostlass has not exactly thrived in this cup, despite being really
it's not
Pokemon.
Great for it. It's the problem with Frostlass in this meta is first of all, it doesn't really like Lanturn, so that's already one checked off. Mm-hmm. It can beat Hypno, but it doesn't really like Hypno that much because Hypno is also doing a lot of damage to it in return. So, it
kind of just outpaces Hypno as opposed to.
It doesn't like Shiftry, doesn't like Talonflame.
It doesn't really beat that much reliably, and the Talonflame and Lanturn, the Talonflame and Lanturn mashups are worse for Frostlass than they are for the other side. So it's it's not. I mean, it's a good Pokemon, but against the sort of concentrated meta, it's not really doing anything special.
Yeah,
I understand why Twostel didn't want to look at this Prismatic Cup thing now. It's too hard on him.
Yeah. So sad.
Ninetales is another fire option in there, but just go elsewhere.
Yeah, people are you're often using your red slot, so like for a fire type, so that really goes against Ninetales.
Yeah. I did see one Dugong being
Dugong's
used.
really good. So the thing about Dugong is, outside of Lanturn, it's actually pretty solid against the core meta. In fact, typically when I'm building teams in Team Builder, it says that you have a Dugong problem.
But, you know, Dugong's always a sim hero as well. It's always like it's able to bait 2 Icy Winds out of you, and then it lands the Water Pulse that goes unshielded sort of deal. Like, it always plays, and like no one switches in that time as well, so the debuffs all stay. So it's a very good Pokemon. You know, no doubt.
It's really strong if the opponent stays in until they die, so that you just layer those Icy Winds down. But if they can clear the Icy Wind debuffs, then it can become a bit less strong.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got taken, like, I had a Talonflame that I was like, oh, I can take an Icy Wind, and got taken out by a Water Pulse, like, straight away. And that was very uncool. But also, like, I mean, that is the only Dugong that was played, and it was played pretty well, I guess, in that regard. So it certainly got some oomph. Lanturn is the big kind of scary, but if you're up against like a Quagsire team, it's not as bad.
Yeah. I know for me, I'm building one team with Dugong. I've got one team with Frostlats that I'm going to go with. So in terms of yellow, I've picked Hypno there's only 3 tournaments I did not pick Hypno for. I picked one Frostlats team. I picked one Dugong team, and I have one other mystery yellow.
Mystery yellow.
Yeah.
Not on this graphic.
It's definitely not on this graphic. It's I'm bringing it to the Go Stadium staff tournament.
So we'll find out very soon.
The only hint I will give is the tournament is called The Dark Side of the Prismatic Moon.
Oh, snap. Oh, heck yeah.
You know what it is.
We all know, and I think we're all impressed. So yeah, moving on for Hypno. These last 3 slots are the 3 that really have some variability in them. That you're really seeing different people bring different stuff. The green or black? The green or black slot is obviously it's green, so there's lots of grass going on alongside the Whimsicott, Shifty, Ferrothorn. You've got that Meganium, Cradily. So it's kind of like I'm feeling like it's either grass type or Snorlax or Munchlax or Flygon. Is there any other camp any other role that fits in there?
There's Muck as well. It's got 3 of the strongest safe switches. Muck, Snorlax, and Flygon, which they're safer against some teams than against others, but they're not the hardest countered Pokemon in the meta. So it's kind of like the grass slot and the safe switch slot. It has both things going for it.
Yeah, well, Cradily is like the mix of both worlds, right? It's that grass type that offers a really good safe swap pretty much against everything. I'm kind of looking around and I'm not seeing anything that it like would hate to see.
It doesn't really like Ferrothorn.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's interesting because that's typically what people are doing with the green slot. It's like they're either running their safe switch in that spot with the Alolan Muck or the Snorlax type pick, or they're using it for the nuclear option in Whimsicott. Having the ability to nuclear something out of the game. That's a very common way of using it as well.
Aha, you have both shields left? I don't think so. You're out of here. Should have used them earlier, buddy. Yeah, I definitely see. I haven't actually... I was about to lie again. I have seen a Meganium being used. It's kind of an interesting one because you've got that Earthquake that Quagsire has. You're getting to it a bit slower. You do have Frenzy Plant though, so you are getting that Lanturn coverage, which is all powerful. But I feel like Meganium gets too walled up against like Talonflame and Drifblm and...
Yeah, I feel like Whimsicott is kind of an RPS pick, but somehow Meganium is somehow more. Like it's like, even Whimsicott has the Hurricane for the Talonflame. Like Meganium is just going to get farmed by a Talonflame for 100 energy, and you're toast if you get that lined up. So it's a solid pick, but you're definitely like you're playing hardcore rock paper scissors at that point.
It's like, you had better leave Lanturn or I'm top lefting out of this Silph tournament. Like, there's nothing to be done here. Sort of deal.
We have Serperior as a similar option now. Even more bulk than Meganium. And the option of hitting Talonflame with the powerful, unresisted Aerial Ace.
True. Don't forget about Leaf Tornado.
Never forget about Leaf Tornado.
Right back. Tries the flame charge up itself, tornado it.
You're gonna have to incinerate me down slower.
Which might be worse in some situations.
I wouldn't say it,
especially since it can raise its attack again. It's not even like you permanently dropped its attack.
No. I still feel like it would take at least 5 incinerates to take out a superior, though. So I feel like it's not taking Launder is not really a disbenefit in a way.
Like it's still going to have a million energy regardless.
Yeah.
They're going to finish with 100 no matter whether you debuff them or not. But at least if you debuff them by 2 stages, they're forced to use their flame charges to try to buff themselves back up again.
And they only get back to where they started, not up to even higher.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess those flame charges will then, like, as they're powering themselves back up, they'll do less damage as well. So maybe there's some play for it, maybe.
Yeah.
If you're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's good in neutral. Vine Whip plus Frenzy Plant with that stat product is really, really strong in neutral, but it has a lot of not neutral matchups, like the other grasses and Talonflame and Drifblm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even Alolan Muck.
Yeah, Alolan Muck as well.
And Flygon is one that it's kind of a weird Pokemon. It's got one of the fastest charge move activations in the game with the Mudshot Dragonclaw combo. And then Earth Power as well. So it's so spammy, but
I like Flydon actually. I've been playing Flydon in at least one of my tournaments, and I had a blast with it yesterday. It was so much fun.
Quick question: how many tournaments do you do? Because you seem to have a team built with every single one of these Pokemon.
I do like 7 a month.
7 times. Are you using a unique Pokemon in every single one of these, except for like?
I try to use it like early in the month. So it was funny because Polymers was talking about I can't remember the name of the badges, but there's a badge where if you can get in the top 50% of a tournament, only using 6 Pokemon that are all like below 5% usage.
Yeah, that was a new one. Pandemonium badge.
Pandemonium, yeah, actually, and then he mentioned that he's gonna go for the Pandemonium badge this month. And then I looked at I just had the Pandemonium badge. So there's always a tournament late in the month where like it's just like, what is this team? So yeah, if you don't find my Traveler card on Silph, you'll see some like late month teams that are just really weird.
I think I'm gonna be doing the same thing this month. Just for that Pandemonium badge.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun just to play a completely random like what can you build the team on Team Builder so that it's balanced, but like it's weird. It's just like a weird team.
You know, you're building it with a Charmeleon as your fire coverage, and yeah.
I accidentally built a Prismatic team in a way last month in Vortex because towards the end of Vortex, one of my teams was Talonflame and Lanturn. Just why not?
Of course it was. Just of course it was. So. I guess brown/pink slot, which I kind of keep forgetting that pink is in there because are there any pink ones that?
No, Alola Mole is probably the biggest pink one, but it didn't end up catching on.
Yeah, even with the basically Basidon replacement being able to take down the Talonflame as well. Yeah. I guess Lanturn exists.
Water and Basidon.
Yeah. Basidon of the seas. Ahoy! But you've got Lanturn, you've got grass types, you've got Hypno, who is sometimes running Thunder Punch. I guess it's not loving this meta.
It's not.
It's not the worst, but yeah, not exactly the best. There's other things that can beat Talonflame. Like, you know, I was going to say, I guess you could have like a Lanturn in your slot 1, and then you can bring in that Alola Mola in that pink slot. So that sort of color game. Maybe you really want to be using Tangrowth in your blue slot. You could bring that Talonflame coverage elsewhere, but it's just not as good. So
yeah.
I mean, you didn't even put it on this graphic. It's like not even in the alternatives bit.
All right.
It doesn't even make the bin. It's just ignored.
It's just we don't care about you, Alola. See you in another cup.
It doesn't have the strongest moveset either. Like Waterfall's a decent move. Hydro Pump's reasonable DP, but it's pretty slow and it can be pretty wasteful with its energy. So it can be an awkward Pokemon in neutral matchups as well. It doesn't have the star power of something like a Talonflame or a Hypno.
Yeah.
But there are a bunch of other ones. A lot of counter uses was in the brown slot, and that's kind of what I mean, at like day one of the cup, I was like, here's all the counter uses. It's the brown slot. You're not really going to go anywhere else for the counter uses. Like Blaziken exists, but Talonflame's in that slot. They're all here. You've got the Hitmontop, you've got Hitmonchan, you've got Sudowoodo. Sudowoodo is kind of the only one that I've been seeing more than Hitmontop. I've not been seeing very often. Hitmonchan I've not been seeing very often. Although the people that do use Hitmonchan like swear by it. Like they love that thing.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at it. I kind of liked it, but it didn't quite work out in practice for me.
Yeah. Pseudo's really interesting. I agree. I like Sudowoodo a lot.
I like Pseudo as well. It's a Talonflame wall. I mean, as much as Brave can be walled, because it resists both moves, and it can also it can one shot it with Rock Slide. And it beats some of the other Talonflame walls, like it beats most of the other rock Pokemon. It can nuke Lanturn. And it just has that amazing coverage because not only does it have the rock ground combination like Quagsire has, but it also has fighting damage. So between those three moves, I don't think there's any Pokemon in the game that resists all three of them. So it has it's a Pokemon that you can even in a bad matchup, you can often get something out of the situation. It's rarely completely stranded.
Yeah,
that makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm. I haven't seen much of it so far, but I really like it. I think I'm going to use it definitely coming up. It's on my radar of one I'm going to use towards the end.
One thing about it is it's not amazing at the Snorlax beating job. I think the matchup's in Sudowoodo's favour, but because Snorlax has that great coverage where Body Slam's its primary move. The only things that resist Body Slam are Ghost, Rock, and Steel. And between Lick and Superpower, it can hit them all for super effective. Sudowoodo is an example of that. That if Snorlax lands the Superpower on it, it can flip the matchup.
Yeah.
So Sudowoodo does have to watch out for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. And there is that Noctowl as well. That sort of other flyer that I've been really liking.
Mm-hmm.
It can take, obviously it can take hits pretty well. We all know that Noctowl is another sort of bulky thing. It's not so bulky that it's the Umbreon of the skies that gets left for the Mandabuzz's job, but it's still a bulky Pokemon. It can take some hits. It doesn't output damage too fast. It's not a huge output machine. There's not much that it like really hard beats. Even the fighters, it's still got the normal type.
It has a pretty good Snorlax matchup, even though it's not doing super effective because it's bulky and it double resist Lick. Yeah. So that is it's about as dominant against Snorlax as the actual fighting types are.
Mm-hmm. I think how I used it. So I used Talonflame on a team that employed Blazikens. That was sort of the way that I kind of employed it. So instead of running as a second Talonflame, I ran it like instead of Talonflame in the brown slot and picked up Blaziken in the red slot.
So you're still getting your fire coverage from Blaziken, and then you've got some damage from the skies. You basically split Talonflame into two different slots. And how did that go for you?
It's going well so far. I think I'm 2-0 in that one so far.
Interesting. There is potentially room for non-Talonflame teams as it happens.
Yeah, Torchid's final form.
Can you describe what it looks like?
There's a UK player who, in his first two tournaments, he went between the two of them, he went 13-1, I think, because he went 6-1 in one of them and 7-0 in the other. And he did actually have Noctowl on his team alongside Talonflame. He had Double Flower on his team.
That's cool.
Hey, that was my lineup. I think my team was very similar to that one. I looked at a bunch of I was looking at doing a video of doing a bunch of battles with the top meta team, and just going off what everyone seemed to be using up the top. And I think my team was potentially that player might have been the same as them, except I had a Quagsire instead of Lanturn, I think.
Yeah, he had a Lanturn.
Yeah.
In his team.
I think that may be the team that mine is incredibly similar to. But Dragonite is it's another Dragon Breath. And Dragon Breath, that's the third time it's been mentioned in the alternative slot. It's not that great. I guess Dragonite especially it doesn't take hits very well from pretty much anything. It does have the Hurricane option, but yeah.
Yeah, you'd think that a Dragon would beat a Fire type, but if Talonflame lands a Brave Bird on Dragonite, that's a lot of pain for a Dragonite.
That's game, yeah. That's the end of Dragonite.
Yeah, little bit rough, but he's made a slot onto the alternatives where Alolan Momola couldn't. So good on him, I guess. And then there's a huge number in the purple slot. We've got who on the main graph is purple? Drifblm.
Yeah, and Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn's grey.
Yeah, purple and grey. So they're the two that are on there, neither of which are the most used in the entire meta or anything. So I think this is where probably the biggest varied slot, I feel, potentially. Yeah. You've got Gliscor, which has definitely been coming up in recent times. We've got Haunter, Probopass, Skuntank, Escavalier. Probopass is, again, one of those RPS-y sort of dudes that is usually going to be winning big or losing really big.
Yeah. He's a huge threat, though, to the main meta, especially if people are running Lanturn. Quagsire teams have a lot easier of a time with Probopass, but the teams that are built around Talonflame, Lanturn, and Hypno do not like seeing Probopass, especially if they're also employing Whimsicott. Yeah, Probo's a problem.
Yeah, it can be a problem, but it also can be a problem for the Probopass user if it all goes south. You take your wins with your losses on that one. But Gliscor is it is a very good Pokemon in its cup. It is it's a very good kind of anti-meta sort of role. It's got that Earthquake that can hit a lot of things, as we've kind of talked about, if you want to run it that way. You've got that Night Slash that's going to be hitting the Hypnos, etc. You do have to be scared of the Ice Punches potentially coming through. But, I mean, it's very good. Almost landed onto my team. Almost. But, I'm sure Tangent has 3 tournaments that he's running Gliscor in, that he's doing super well in all of them.
Yeah. I am running Gliscor. I'm also running Stuntank. Stuntank's really cool.
Yeah, I'm running him in 2 of my tournaments.
Yeah,
it's a pretty interesting Pokemon because it doesn't take hits too well from a lot of stuff.
No,
but it can do really well in some key matchups and work really well as a sort of I've been using it as a lot as it's kind of a safe swap in my lineup, in a sense that it's not actually that safe of a swap, but you can kind of swap it in. It still does okay wherever, and then loses not too hard.
Yeah, that's the definition of a safe swap in a way. It's sort of a check down Charlie. You can just send it in and kind of say matchup's not going too well. Here's my check down Pokemon. Maybe I can get something low enough that something else can get an energy advantage that I can carry forward some actual momentum.
Yeah, I guess I've been too used to using the term safe swap as something that potentially might be able to flip something with a bit of energy. Yeah. Whereas Skuntank generally isn't really going to be doing that. It's more of a sacrificial swap.
I think that's the thing. The term safe swap isn't necessarily always super well defined, because there are I think with the safe swap you kind of have sort of a couple of core goals. So the first one core goal is if you can flip the matchup. A second core goal is can you get anything low enough that something else can farm it down. And so can you minimize horrible losses and have play against everything. That's sort of where Snorlax is really good, because it can leave things really low typically. So I think that's sort of the 2 goals with safe swaps. Safe swaps are either supposed to flip the matchup for you, and I think you can kind of merge those 2 things together, because it's hard to get both of them all at the same time.
Yeah, I guess safe swap is more. I would like to reduce how bad of a spot I am in right now. Please, Pokemon, save me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Skuntank, it's like Alolan Mark. It's got that great typing with only one weakness, and it has pretty good coverage as well between its moves. It can even cover more than Muck because it can because it learns Flamethrower and Return as alternative options. It could hit Muck for neutral, for example.
Yeah, I actually think it's better than Alolan Muck. And I kind of realized that after making. I think the thing that's better about it is the flip of Whimsicott.
It is better against Whimsicott. It also uses up a different slot, so that could be quite important if you want the green slot for something else. You could move your Dark Poison safe swap into your 6th slot. Yeah.
I've definitely learned a lesson about Stuntank, and that's if you're facing a Stuntank, lead your Hypno. Don't leave it in the back.
Yeah, because then those Skuntank safe swaps are ready to come in. Oh, dearie me. And Hypno is the one that kind of works as that sort of safe-ish swap as well. Like, I feel like every single team, Hypno seems to have good matchups against it. Mm-hmm. So I guess it's kind of a Pokemon you can't build an entire team that beats. So Hypno always seems to be able to stand well. It's always a good option to bring in, which is like just makes it more likely that you may find a Skuntanky Doom if that is how it goes.
Yeah.
Haunter is an interesting one. I don't think I've seen a Haunter yet, but I have seen a Gengar.
Yeah, I was going to say I haven't used Haunter yet, so that's saying something.
Just wait till end of the month. I feel like it's kind of just a bit of a rougher version of like. I feel like you'd rather Drifblm than Haunter, if that's the way you're going to go.
That was the reason I didn't end up going with the I just went with Drifblm instead for that slot. I was considering Gengar. Gengar was on my team sort of in the building stage for a while for that build, and then I went with Drifblm.
Yeah.
But if I'd used Drifblm previously on a different team, I probably would have tried Gengar to be different. But I like doing that. I like being different sometimes. The Hypno matchup is a bit rough.
Yeah. Yeah, the confusion's very much hurt that poor squishy little Gengar. What is it, like half a confusion and Gengar's gone?
Even like Snorlax and then Drifblm is. Like Drifblm loses to Snorlax, but doesn't really fear any of Snorlax's moves. Whereas like Gengar is just let completely down into the ground.
Yeah, well, I'm showing my cards here, but in the video that I did just upload, must have been like 8, 9, 10 hours ago now, my tournament win, I had my Snorlax leading up against a Gengar, and I was like licking away, and they were staying in, and I was like, you've got Focus Blast. You're not going to get that off. And then they like swapped it out, and then they brought it out like right at the end of the battle and tried to land the Focus Blast, and I went, nope, I kept the shield just for you, buddy. That was the one charge of you we're going to get. It felt a little bit obvious that like
the fact they stayed in.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess the ideal case is that you manage to farm something down with Gengar, and then you can get the big nuke off. But it's just not. It's too squishy. It can't really it really has to get lucky in getting into a good spot so that it can then do something better for you later.
Yeah, Focus Blast is probably its most inconsistent move because of the energy cost.
Yeah, like people talk about this Pokemon's only going to get to one charge move because they're so squishy, but Gengar is just a whole nother ball game. When it's trying to get to its big nuke. Could get to a few Shadow Punches, but once you start throwing Focus Blast around, you're already dead. Scavalier is an interesting one. I don't think I've seen anyone use it.
I've used it. It's fun. It's a good Talonflame bait in a way. Like it's good bench pressure to bring out the Talonflame. It gives you some good coverage. It covers like the rock types. Covers Shiftry. Hypno. It's got Mega Horn for, which is interesting. covers the Snorlaxes. Like it has some good coverage with it. It's just the big problem is the Talonflame matchup. I've lost 2 matchups so far with that Establer team because I didn't pay enough attention to the switch slot and got it stuck against the Talonflame for farm down, and oh my god, it's terrible.
Yeah, because like every other fighter has play against Talonflame. Like they can at least try and get a shield out of it or land a big nuke move when the shields are down. Escavalier is just kind of dead in the water.
Yeah.
Its only unresisted move is Aerial Ace, and that's its worst move.
You're not going to be running that unless you were specifically planning to get in a bad spot up against Talonflame. But
even if you do have Aerial Ace for the Talonflame, you're still not doing much damage to it because it's such a weak move and it doesn't get stabbed. So take that as pretty much the.
Take that. I had to wonder if a neutral its Aerial Ace is even better than a resisted drill run.
It is, but it's not than resisted Megahorn. Resisted Megahorn is higher DP than, which doesn't apply in the Talonflame matchup because Talonflame double resists Megahorn. But that does show how bad Aerial Ace is. That it's not even its best move sometimes when Megahorn's resisted.
Okay, so I do want to kind of ask about a best in each color sort of deal, but first let's talk about the trash can. We've got 3 Mons that are kind of hanging over there. 3 Mons that I haven't really seen discussed too much. I saw one person was a little bit confused about Espeon even being there at all.
You mean in the meta?
I mean, self-selected it as a Pokemon to be in the meta, so it has to be given consideration. They didn't include everything. There are Pokemon that they didn't include, but they included
specifically
Espeon.
chose Espeon to be available in this meta. Never forget that.
What was one of the ones that they didn't? I'm trying to remember some of the ones that they didn't include that could have been in there that were actually kind of interesting Pokemon. Do you remember?
I'd have to bring up the Discord to look.
Cast Form Normal, that would have been interesting because it's like Snorlax, but it has a bit less bulk. But because it's got a better fast move, it tends to do better in neutral matchups than Snorlax. So it would have been an interesting trade-off because you don't get that superpower coverage, but you have that much more spammy body stat. That would have been an interesting one. Normal cast.
Yeah, there are a few like. That was the interesting thing. It was more like things like Xatu and Dewott and Espeon were included on the short list, where other things were kind of not. So that was kind of the joke there. It's like, I could see like those being included if like everything was included except for the specific bans, but like I don't know why Cast Form Normal would be a ban.
That is an interesting question because I assumed that they would have started like, here are all of the Pokemon that are eligible, and then knocked stuff off.
Yeah.
And they did specifically knock off Castform. Maybe they were like trying to keep it to a certain number of Pokemon.
Yeah, look at Dewott. Dewott was included, but Samurott was not. I want you to think about that for a second.
Like, who would be using that anyway?
Exactly. Well, exactly. But you might think that the final form would be there instead of the middle form. But the middle form made the list, but not the final form, which is the really interesting thing. Maybe they were afraid of a possible surprise Samurott community day.
Maybe. Yeah, I guess they need to prepare these things in a bit of advance, but even
they did have a superior community day, and that was that announced? That was announced after the meta was announced, I think.
Yeah.
I guess they were thinking that wouldn't be as rough. Potentially.
Yeah. The other fun thing about Dewott was it was included, and we kind of put it as a joke in the anti-Hypno slot in the roster archetype. we forgot to chat. It actually doesn't beat Hypno.
but it's there nonetheless. It made it.
It was the blue anti-Hypno slot bit.
I've just got that.
Because it has Fury Cutter and X Scissors, so it's using super effective moves, but
it still isn't able to win that one out.
They're just X Scissors is a weak move, and Fury Cutter's an energy focused move. So you're putting your energy into a weak move, and you don't have stab on them either. So you're just not really doing as much damage to Hypno as you'd expect from a super effective Pokemon.
Yeah, Licky was one that wasn't included. That. It's kind of like a worse... Actually, does it... No, it doesn't have Power Whip. I think it's got like a worse version of Snorlax Munchlax. Oh, it's got Shadow Ball.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been a really interesting one. I guess, like, you'd already. I guess I wonder if there was consideration with Licky being in a different slot. Because if there was, then there'd even be more decisions like, okay, I can use my sort of lick anti-hypno user in the green or black with the Snorlax and stuff, or I could use it in the pink or brown slot with Licky sort of deal. But Shadow Ball is a very good move, so maybe there was reasons to not bring it there.
It's never been huge, so I think it would have been fine. It's Lickitung that's really the one that you had to get rid of.
Yeah. I mean, XL Candy is enough to make things scary.
I mean, Lickitung's more powerful than Snorlax because it has a much higher stat product, but it still wouldn't get that super effective coverage on the rock and steel types that Snorlax has. Mm-hmm. So Snorlax does still have its little niche there.
Yeah. Fair enough, I guess. But it is time. You both have to tell me who is the best blue Pokemon. Is it only blue? Yeah, it's only blue, and then only red, and then it gets 2 colors from there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming that there's only 2 options here.
I like Tangrowth. I like its safety.
He's a Tangrowth man.
Because unlike Ferrothorn, it has a much faster nuke move on Talonflame that one shots it. So it has a much better Talonflame matchup than Ferrothorn, and I like its safety as a grass option.
Yeah, and it's pretty bulky as well. I'm actually running Tangrowth in some of my cups as well. That I pretty much just blatantly stole the team from Dr. Trotto, who I think I'm not sure if we shoutcasted a tournament run of his together or if I was just like in his kind of like on voice chat on his Twitch channel while he was doing it on person. I was definitely doing that bit. But he was using the team with like double grass, Cradily and Tangrowth, and I was like, ooh, yoink, I'm going to try that out. Tangrowth it's a very interesting Pokemon. It can get to the charge moves relatively fast.
Yeah, it's faster than Lanturn is, for example. And it has better moves than Lanturn because Power Whip is faster and higher DPU than any of Lanturn's moves. And Vine Whip is better than Spark, so it's not quite as bulky as Lanturn, but it does have an interesting move pool.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm going to guess that Tangent's going Lanturn.
Yeah, that would be sort of the pit there. Like I like a lot of the other pits. Like I've definitely used Quagsire. I'm going to be using Tangrowth and Tindra coming up, but almost every other time it's been Lanturn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
hard to go past. I am really liking Quagsire now. That like I think my first team. Oh, I mean my other teams with Tangrowth, but I only used Quagsire for the first time in a tournament yesterday, and I really liked it. It seemed to give like really good coverage kind of across the board. And it was actually like I think it beat 5 out of the 6 Mons on my opponent's team in like the first round of the tournament. And it was like, I guess maybe it was a poorly built team, or I guess every team's going to be weak to something.
Yeah, usually a lot of times in this thing, it's been like, oh, well, 5 of my sits lose to Haunt Trope, and I'm like, I'm okay with that. Whatever.
Yeah.
Like, if I see one, I'll deal with it then.
Yep, very fair. I was doing the same thing with like Zeb Striker showing up as the big counter in my team. It's like, okay.
I did see Honchko showing up as a core breaker a few times on Team Builder.
I've seen it used.
It can because its Snarl charges Brave Bird really fast, so anything that doesn't resist Brave Bird can get. And it's so glassy as well. It's a really heavy Brave Bird, so it can blow holes in a lot of things if you set it up right.
Mm-hmm. Right. So we've got a blue pick, red pick. Raise your hand if you're going to pick anything but Talonflame. Next. You just can't beat it.
It's too good.
It's too good. I do wonder if maybe there was room for I wonder why. Like Talonflame's a really good Pokemon and the red list is really limited. There are not very many Pokemon in there. I'm not sure if that's because they banned a bunch of them or if there just aren't very many reds in general.
I think there's not very many reds. If you look at the Love Cup in general, when we had Love Cup, like you're kind of looking at the Love Cup meta.
Yeah.
Right now. Plus Firebird.
Yeah, which didn't exist at the time.
That would have been amazing in Love Cup if it had Incinerate back then. It would have been much more popular than Charizard.
So I wouldn't have done well up against Waterhole.
It would have helped control the Charmers a bit more because it has a stronger Charm matchup than Charizard has. Because of its higher bulk and it can boost up its Incinerate damage to keep up with the Charm damage.
Yeah, it would have been a very scary one to bring. But I guess the next one is the yellow white slot, which I think Hypno is the obvious big one to pick, but there's definitely some other options. But are there? Raise your hand if you're not going to pick Hypno. Cheap. Okay, moving on. And here's where I'm thinking that we will get some sort of different answers here in the green or black slot. I'm kind of two ways about it between Credilli and Snorlax. Kind of like both of them. But I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna hear a Ferrothorn. I'm gonna hear. I don't know what else I'm gonna hear.
Ferrothorn's grey slot.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I'm probably not gonna hear Ferrothorn then.
I've been going Whimsicott, which is weird because I'm not usually like a big charm runner, but I've been going Whimsicott a lot, and there's just what it's nice to have is it's nice when you kind of recognize something in the opposing teams, like the times of the lines they're picking. If you can kind of pick out sort of what they're going to do, like, and you can land the Whimsicott on them, you can just beat them. Like, so it's like, it's so nice to have the option to like go to it when you have sort of a good read.
Yeah.
And it ruins people who are relying on Flygon or Kingdra as their safe swap. Flygon's a bit more popular than Kingdra, but it ruins their plans because against a lot of teams, those Pokemon might actually be quite safe. But if you have a Whimsicott, then they're definitely not safe.
It also just affects their line combination. So like you can't combo as many things like throwing a Shift Tree and a Lanturn on the same line because it starts. So like you can influence just by its existence. So that's kind of what I liked about it. But I'm also a huge I love Flygon. Flygon's so much fun. I have so much fun with Flygon. Like it's so fun to charge it. Like it's a good meta for it. It's really good anti-meta for. I don't actually run Stone Edge on mine. The Stone Edge is really good.
Earth Power Dragonclaw?
Earth Power Dragonclaw. You can do pretty well against the Talonflames with just Dragonclaws. And sometimes the threat of Stone Edge is better. It's the better thing about with Flygon with Earth Power is, first of all, like you're a bit better against Steel types. You have more options there. Stone Edge, Dragonclaw's walled by the Steels. A bit better against Lanturn, better against a few other things. Just worse against Talonflame. So that's really the big drop, is that you don't have that Talonflame one shot.
You also don't have anything to hit Whimsicott with neutral. Obviously, you're pretty dead on a Whimsicott, but if you manage to farm up energy.
Yeah. I'm not sure I could even get to a Stone Edge against them.
I think you probably could, but maybe you farm something down, and they bring in Whimsicott to absorb your energy. But yeah, Stone Edge, that would be a situation.
I feel like if I see a Whimsicott and I'm with my Flydon, like I feel like Flydon's benched.
But there is that. Yeah, Stone Edge isn't enough to save you.
No.
But Nesabethan, I don't think I heard your pick.
I probably like Mark and Snorlax the most out of this pick. I think out of this slot. I think they're nice because they beat Hypno, and they're both similar sort of safe swap picks with their own advantages. So I think those two for me stand out above the others, but I'm not really sure which I prefer out between them.
Yeah, and again, like I said before, nothing's really running away from those matchups. I'm loving it. Yeah. Nothing's running away with 99% HP. Happy days. Damn, that Pokemon sucked. I'm here with 100 energy ready to go. Yeah. They really have to do something about it, or else they're being taken out, it's always nice. I guess there's a chance that Talonflame can potentially like take you out and be flame charged up, but it's also going to be pretty weak at that point. So like, give or take, I guess. But brown/pink. No, is anyone going to use a pink option? No. Okay.
No.
Uh,
I am going to advocate for one that's not shown, though. I'm going to talk about a little bit about Hariyama.
oh dear.
So Hariyama is an interesting pick. I feel like if you want to go with a fighter that's sort of like pure fighting damage, don't look too much further past counter plus close combat plus superpower Hariyama. I feel like if you're running Hariyama, just go all out.
If I throw a single charge move, I'm going to melt.
Yep. It's really good though. It beats a ton of things. You obviously get destroyed by a ton of things as well. Like you get destroyed by Hypno, Drifblm, Talonflame,
Whimsicott.
Yeah,
It's really
Hypno Talonflame meta, and you can't hit any of them for neutral.
But you can make yourself go down even faster. So that's like...
Yeah.
I suppose a resisted close combat still does a decent amount of damage, but
yeah. But the actual pick from this slot, I'm definitely pumping the most is Shiftry. I feel like Shiftry is the best way of stopping the Lanturn Hypno combo.
Yeah.
Generally, yeah.
There's a reason that Shiftry is the number one most picked in that slot.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, just grass coverage plus Hypno coverage, just really good. I flipped the use of the word coverage there midway, but having grass and dark is good. Thumbs up. Okay. I don't know what I'd go for. I guess maybe Noctowl, maybe Sudowoodo. I don't think I really have a favorite in that slot, to be honest.
I think Hitmontop's fairly decent, particularly if you're running into a lot of Snorlax teams who are sending in their Snorlaxes to flip that switch. Hitmontop helps you control that. I think it's one of the most popular in the slot as well after Shiftry. So it's a bit awkward because its fastest move is a debuff move, but it does have nice coverage and it does have powerful moves. So I think it's decent.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really. Yeah, you go.
I was gonna say, if you like your fastest move being a debuff move, I have the Pokemon for you.
We're coming back to that.
You just watch. People are going to be using Hariyama now all over the place. It's going to be the new meta pick. PvPost's going to put it at number one. Everyone's going to use it. It's going to be huge. You just wait. And it's all because of what has been said right now. But I've never really... Hitmontop's been a weird one. Like I've never... With its charge moves being so expensive, I've never really been able to use it really well. So maybe that's just a me problem.
Well, I mean, it charges faster than Lanturn, for example. Like it can, if you need to convert your move just to do damage, it can do that better than something like Lanturn. But it's having your fastest move as a debuff move can be problematic if you're trying to like farm something down and go into the next matchup. You just need to chip something and then go into the next matchup. And if you have to debuff yourself to chip something, that can cause you trouble.
Yeah, I was having loads of fun with Hitmontop in the 30-second switch meta. Like when the 30-second switch meta was happening, like in Open Drake League, like I was just throwing it in Go Battle League battles, and I was having a ton of fun with Hitmontop. It was like reaching full potential.
You know, if you're having fun with Hitmontop and Go Battle League with the 30-second switch timer, I've got a Pokemon for you that would be really fun to you.
Yeah, Hariyama.
Oh, God.
But what was it as well? There was a meme that was posted yesterday by House Stark. He was doing like Simpsons memes, and it said Hitmontop and Sims. It was like the fully completed barbecue, and like Hitmontop in actual battles. It was just like this dismantled pile.
He's been putting out some very high quality memeage.
Yeah.
I do recommend that everyone go follow House Stark immediately. It is very important for you to do. Last lot. Purple/grey.
Yeah. I loved Listor. Listor is sort of my recommendation from that slot.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it before. It's good. It can do a lot of stuff. Very anti-meta.
Mm-hmm.
Gets to stuff relatively quick too.
Yeah, I really like Stun Taint as well. I think it's really interesting. Drifblm and Ferrothorn are obviously meta for a reason. Probopass is always Probopass. It does well at its job. I hated seeing Probopasses with my Crustle team. Like that was like the worst thing that they could possibly have had for my strategy. Just like, okay, now it's risky to run the Crustle. I was kind of relying on Crustle being super safe and easy to use because half of my team is just dead to Talonflame. Why did you bring Probo?
Come on, man. This isn't cool.
Mm-hmm.
That slot does have another charmer. If you really want a charmer but you don't want to use Whimsicott, it's not depicted here, but it is an option.
I never used it, actually, it turns out. But early team building, that always ended up being in one of the pits. It was like before I kind of realized how much I wanted Whimsicott, like I was like, I'm just gonna throw a Granbull on here. It's my nuclear option. I'm just gonna use the purple slot for the Granbull.
I mean, it does have some advantages over Whimsicott. It's much easier for it to damage steel Pokemon. So if you're running into Ferrothorns or Probopasses, it can handle that better. And it's slightly faster than Whimsicott as well, because it has 45 energy moves. So it does have some advantages. It doesn't break up that Hypno Lanturn core that Tangent was talking about, because it doesn't beat. It's kind of neutral against Lanturn. It doesn't wall it in the same way.
Yeah. In this cup, I kind of prefer Snarl Granbull as opposed to Charm.
I didn't see that.
Getting those charge moves off way quicker. Kind of, you end up being a much harder Hypno counter than if you go Charm, which is kind of nice.
Does it reliably beat Hypno with Snarl? I have a feeling I checked that matchup and it wasn't. It was worse than I expected. Yeah, I had a feeling it was worse than I expected, but I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know I saw Jigglypuff use it in a tournament, and it didn't go too well for him, but he was also unpracticed with it. And I think Granbull is one of those mons that can be a little bit difficult to use, I suppose.
Yeah,
so it's a bit clunky. Doesn't take it very
well. I see it win the 2 shields with Charm, but with Snarl, I mean, I think the Hypno might be baiting, but with Snarl, I'm seeing it lose all even shields against Hypno. I think the Hypno is probably baiting a Thunder Punch and landing a Shadow Ball in the shield scenarios. But Snarl isn't as helpful against Hypno as it might sound.
I'm not sure. I feel like just Confusion and Thunder Punch would probably be enough to wipe out a Granbull.
Yeah, it's not very bulky, is it? Oh, there is a reason that Granbull is not on this graphic, I guess. Did we hear a pick from you, Nesabethan, or was that Granbull?
We can chuck Granbull down, yeah. I do agree. Right. I do agree that Callisto or Drifblm are really strong picks.
The surprise is that you are now going to be locked into your next tournament with the 6 that you picked.
I know. I've used Granbull in the tournament so far. I'm not even throwing it out of nowhere. I've used Granbull.
And one pick that Daniel Payne mentioned in the chat was Zangoose being an option in this cup, which is kind of an interesting one. It's got Shadow Claw and Night/Close Combat, right? That doesn't sound like a terrible moveset to go for.
Yeah, the problem is the same problem with almost every other yellow/white Pokemon.
You'd have to take out Hypno.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's quite similar to Snorlax. It's similar coverage with the Ghost Dark, with the Ghost and fighting, Ghost Fast move and the Fighting Charge move. But it's much glassier than Snorlax, so
yeah. So Snorlax can kind of lick down Hypno with some body slams, whereas I guess Zangoose kind of needs to get the Night Slashes through. Mm-hmm. There's the chance for the boost, which is always there. And you can maybe try and complete the Caleb Peng challenge in the Prismatic Cup, but there's no Lugia here, so that's. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember if these covered the last one that I looked up, like legendaries, and it didn't seem to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Surely we would have seen a Lugia by now if it was eligible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's eligible.
Yeah. Oh well, but I think that's about all that I had to say as far as Prismatic Cup is concerned. Did either of you guys have something that was very important to kind of bring up, wanted to talk about in the Prismatic Cup?
I think that was mostly it. I wanted to make sure that we talked about Dewat and Hariyama and there's no Shadow Matan this time. They banned Shadows, so there's no Shadow Matan.
Yep. So and no Mandibuzz. So there's.
I wonder why they decided to ban Shadows.
But because of Shadow Matang.
Because of Shadow Matang.
Shadow Matang was too OP. They just had to ban all of them.
I think the reason is that they don't really fit the taller theme that well. Sort of,
Yeah, they do have purple smoke, don't they?
Like lively colors, and Shadows are just like
that might be,
purple shadows.
Yeah. I have always wondered in these like colored metas, like shiny Pokemon, you could make some real conundrums with shiny Pokemons being able to switch everything up. But I mean, thank you both for being here. Because this is a bit last minute swap to YouTube, I don't have like the Twitter links and stuff in the description already, but I'll put them up like straight after we finish here, I guess. I'll fix up the description to have all the links and whatnot in there. But yeah, thank you both for kind of coming on again, because it's always fun to go through this meta, figuring stuff out, even if it is like now halfway through the month. We're going to get another meta in a week and a bit. So it's going to be short-lived, but now everyone does know they can use Hariyama to destroy the Prismatic Cup meta.
Check though, it sims really well. The only problem, obviously, is the coverage, but it does. There's too many things that just destroy it. But outside of those things, like anything that if you landed in the right spot, oh my, like it can win so many things.
And if you run into a team that isn't running Talonflame or Hypno, then you might be in a great spot with your Hariyama.
Oh man, Prismatic Cup is surely like impossible to be able to get that Pandemonium badge. Like, I don't know how you can ditch so much top meta in this cup. Oh,
you can. I've proven it every meta so far. You can do it. You don't need to win. You just need to be top 50.
Top 50%. You need to get like 2 wins out of 4.
Exactly.
So lose 2, play some lower ranked opponents, and then maybe get 2 in a row.
Yeah. I'd have to check my Traveler card, but there have definitely been some teams that gave me a gold medal where it's like, you wouldn't believe. Yeah.
I will be stalking your trainer card after this as well.
Yeah. Take a look at some of the gold medals I've had. It's pretty fun.
But yeah, well, I can stop the share now. Thanks again to the Go Stadium guys. Again, you can go to stadiumgaming.gg to get the link right this time.
Yep.
Nice. That's where they're going to be putting out all the articles and stuff. You can also, join the Go Stadium server, which is also going to be linked in the description when I get to that bit. Follow on Twitter because I post a bunch of like their infographics and stuff on there as well. And yeah, I think that is all that I had to say. On Twitch or on YouTube, you can't like raid anything. You're actually able to raid another live stream that's starting soon, or a live like if you set a video to premiere, you can raid into your own like video premiere. It's like we can all go, okay, now we're gonna go watch the video that I've uploaded. Let's go, and then like hit the button, which is interesting. But yeah. Thank you to everyone. Tangent, Nesabethan, Twitter links and whatever in the description below. Any last words before I hit the end button?
Hariyama.
I can't top that.
More than anything we said. We're actually already on YouTube, so I don't need to do the YouTube outro. I need to do the outro. So thank you to our patrons and supporters over on Twitch. And thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, especially that subscribe one, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, gonna hit the end button now. Bye. Where's the end button? Oh, I have to go.